News now from Fox. I'm Daytona Everett. Going to cut in there. That was the swearing-in ceremony for LeRonne Armstrong. He will now be the new police chief in the Bay Area in Oakland. But he's got his hands full because just recently there's been a string of violence in Chinatown. Chinatown officials saying that there's been an increase in crime in just recent months, and now some are denouncing the violence in a very bold way. Fox 2's Henry Lee is here with us to break it down. This story is intense, especially in this moment in time with the pandemic. Henry, what do you have for us tonight?
Well, Daytona, it's been a very disturbing last several months. There have been a lot of videotaped attacks on the elderly in Oakland's Chinatown. Luckily for the community, there have been some high-profile arrests, and within hours of his swearing in, the new police chief, LeRonne Armstrong, and the DA confirmed that they've arrested 2 men in separate series of attacks. Now, of course, that has allayed concern somewhat, but the police and the DA say that's, the work's not done. They're going to be continuing patrols, especially as the Lunar New Year comes.
So, Henry, let's just talk really quickly about what exactly these assaults have looked like. There has been some video that's been released. Have there been any arrests in these situations? What's the latest when it comes to these specific assaults?
Well, there was a number of attacks that were caught on video, Daytona, in which a man is seen accosting elderly people inside Chinatown markets or on the street or trying to steal tip jars. He's been arrested, but then when we thought that was over for now, another man was caught on video violently shoving a 91-year-old man to the ground without any provocation. You see on the video, this 91-year-old man's just walking slowly down the street at a corner, and then the suspect violently just shoves him down to the ground, and he is just lying there. And that suspect has also been arrested. We just got his mugshot as well. Unrelated series of attacks, and the man accused in the 91-year-old man's attack also accused of shoving other Chinatown residents to the ground for no apparent reason.
I'm going to play this video out for everyone, Henry. I don't know if you can see it in your screen, but it's just senseless crime here, just pushing this 91-year-old down. Do we have any idea what the motive is of this and what the investigation looks like now? Have they linked him to any other crimes? It seems like I'm not really sure how to even put this. It's gut-wrenching, actually. That's what I would say. No words can express the outrage and the horror you see in these videos, Daytona. We don't have a motive for this case in the 91-year-old man's attack, but I looked up court records that do show that the same man was previously arrested for elder abuse and assault in another attack from last year. So clearly, at the minimum, he has anger issues. We do not know if he has any specific ill will against Asian Americans, but suffice to say that he's now been charged with several attacks, robberies and shoves against Asian Americans. And this comes, Daytona, across the bay in San Francisco. We have another man, a 19-year-old, accused of running across the street and shoving another elderly man in yet another videotaped attack. So Asian American community members are outraged, they're upset, they feel targeted, and against the backdrop, we're approaching the Lunar New Year, so there's some concern that there are certain members of the community who are out to target Asian Americans. And let's talk about response now. Obviously, this is an issue that's on the rise, and we have a new police chief in town. You mentioned briefly there that he did talk about specifically these attacks in Chinatown, but are there any full forces to come up against this issue specifically?
Well, the Alameda County DA Nancy O'Malley today announced the creation of a special response unit that will not only handle prosecutions involving Asian American victims, but they're going to reach out, Daytona, to victims even if the suspect hasn't been arrested. So they're going to share resources, share information, have an outreach effort toward Asian American victims, because some members of Chinatown
are reluctant to report these crimes. They don't think it matters. They don't know if they will be retaliated against. And frankly, some people don't know how to come forward. There might be a language barrier. So that was what was announced at a news conference today at Oakland Chinatown, with the new chief coming in hours after his swearing in.
Yeah, I found that really interesting. That was going to be my next question for you, is that this number could be higher because a lot of these cases are not coming forward. This one, thankfully, was caught on camera, which we're seeing more and more nowadays, but there could possibly be more cases. That's what the district attorney is saying.
That's right. And some people are afraid to come forward, and there may not be cameras involved, as you mentioned.
Yeah, so interesting. Anything else to be looking at for this case moving forward?
Well, both these men now face, they have been formally filed charges against for assault, robbery, theft, and we often see a revolving door of criminal suspects through the justice system. So it remains to be seen, Daytona, whether or not they will be punished and whether they will be out to do it again and again in the future.
Yeah, well, let's hope not. Unfortunate situation out there, but looks like maybe some things could change with some new leaders in town. So we'll be following this story. Fox 2's Henry Lee out there in the Bay Area. We appreciate you being here with us on News Now from Fox.
Thank you, Dito.
And we're going to stay with some California news. I want to play out the rest of that swearing-in ceremony because we weren't able to earlier today. So might as well give you the rest of that. And then I want to hit on some